The sun hung like a stabbed thing, bleeding fiery oranges, yellows, and purples across Ocala. Officer Paul Norman knew this heat. It stole the salt from his body and bit the patience right out of his bones. His partner, Maria Rodriguez, was still new to it. New to the heat, new to Florida, and new to the job. Especially new to the madness they saw each day. As their squad car's lights painted pastels of panic throughout the suburban neighborhood, she wondered what new thing would surprise her today. They rolled to a stop, and Paul's voice chattered low and quick into the radio. Ocala Unit 513, 1023, at location. Responding to a possible 5150. Initiating contact. The glow of the melting sun aligned with the middle of the blacktop on Spring Street, where a man stood perfectly centered, eyes to the ground. As the pair of officers stepped out of their vehicle, the man looked up. His eyes glossed. Don't! He held out one palm towards the officers, halting the two in their tracks. They'll get you! Rodriguez and Norman locked eyes through their sunglasses before looking back at the subject. Curious neighbors stared through the sheet of their window curtains, caught up in the unusual excitement of their otherwise quietly uniformed community. Maria took the lead. Sir, I'm Officer Rodriguez, and this is Officer Norman. How you feeling today? Can you tell us what you took? A slight breeze pushed around the neighborhood's manicured flowers and bushes, while the car's engine crackled as it cooled. Ocala held its breath awaiting his answer. Took? The man's head tilted inquisitively. Then his eyes closed and nodded as if something was being whispered. They said their land was taken. He lifted his head and revealed eyes that were swollen like 2 pennies. Oh no, did I take their land? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Paul stepped forward, his words a gentle authority. Sir, do me a huge favor and sit down, would you? Me and Maria want to come talk to you, but we need to make sure you're not dangerous. Copper-tinted eyes drift from Maria and then to Paul. If I can sit, can you make me feel better? We'll try. Did you smoke something? Paul asked. He was answered by the man's meek nod, so the experienced officer followed up. And what was it that you smoked? Sweat fell from the man's receding hairline, soaking his oversized tank top and drenching his pale skin. I smoked coke with my nose, the man said. Officer Rodriguez stifled a smirk at the way snorting cocaine was described. Her next question slipped out gently. Before we come over there, I just want to be sure. You don't have any weapons or needles on you, right? The man on Spring Street nodded, breaking the officer's progress. Rodriguez slid her hand towards her holster as her superior did the same. The man held out and wiggled his fingers and thumbs in front of his face, going near cross-eyed looking at them. My fingers turned into little dragons. His eyes straightened and made eye contact with Paul. I want to call the ambulance for help, but I don't want to burn my phone. Maria smiled freely this time, moving her hand away from her gun. Anything else in the pockets? Any other weapons? The stranger looked back at the wiggling dragon fingers, his face turning slightly to get a different angle. Shaking his head, he responded, "Nope, just the dragons. But I feel that's enough, right?" The officers patted the man down and helped him take a seat in the grass. Soon after, the EMT arrived and mentioned the potential of cocaine laced with fentanyl. With the EMTs in control of the situation, Norman and Rodriguez moved on to the next mission: dinner. It took a few weeks for Maria Rodriguez to adjust to her new schedule. When she took up the second shift, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., she hadn't realized it meant second shift and a little of the third shift as well. But she'd adjusted, and Paul was the one to guide her through. He took the role of partner seriously. He'd been on the job for close to 15 years and knew his partner not only needed to be trustworthy and knowledgeable, but comfortable too. Small things went awake, that lunch counted as dinner, that their real dinner should be light to protect sleep, was pertinent. Because a tired or unhappy partner could mean death for one or both of them. They worked well together and quickly found a lot in common, despite her being a single 23-year-old woman and him being a 41-year-old family man. One thing they had in common was their love for halal, from their favorite food truck, Omar's Halal, which typically parked closer to the suburbs than downtown. Tonight was no exception. Rodriguez tracked them on social media to Northwest 21st Street, near the Pine Oaks Golf Course. The members of the Ocala police force were the last two customers of the night, resulting in a score of not only free food, but extra for later. Omar's brake lights faded into the night as the two partners devoured their food in the emptied parking lot. Paul Norman looked at his nearly full styrofoam container of chicken over rice with white sauce, listening to the chatter on the CB radio. His eyes drifted to Rodriguez, whose food was gone, not even a crumb. As she scrolled through her social media, he said, "You know, for a small woman, you sure eat like a big-ass man." Rodriguez, without looking up from her phone, responded in a high-pitched and sarcastic voice. "I'm just a baby." Weeks ago, when Maria had mocked this voice, Norman's age became obvious. He had no clue about the viral meme of an adorable little girl being talked to by her mother at the response of, "I'm just a baby." Now, he laughed, glad to know what was circulating in pop culture once again. Lately, it seemed like life had been catching up to him. Cases that normally wouldn't bother him now did. Calls that he would brush off as a younger man seemed to stick with him at home, affecting his sleep. The drugs, the turmoil, and the state of the men and women he came across daily seemed to bring more and more stress. Even Omar, usually all smiles, had flung their food at them like it burned his hands before speeding off. The world seemed on edge lately. Maria's laughter cut Paul's mental spiral off. He looked over at her with an anticipatory smile, wanting to be in on whatever was making her giddy. "What's going on over there?" he asked. "Oh, nothing, big guy. Just the normal internet antics. People are crazy. Look at this." Maria slipped the phone into Paul's hands and explained the situation. "This is the most viral video right now. Half the people who watch it say that this TV host, McKinley, looks like the devil. The other half, me, don't see a thing. Just McKinley staring at the camera. You probably won't see anything, but the comment section is off the chain. Maria's smile faded and she clarified. Off the chain means it's outstanding. Yeah, you're young. Maria sucked her teeth and said, Please, I ain't young. You're just old. Now hush and watch the video. She wanted to know what he'd see, so she watched Paul's face instead. She'd already replayed the clip a dozen times trying to understand the fuss. It was nothing more than a slow-motion video of news anchor Rick McKinley. Then, the footage froze on his face. And nothing. Just McKinley staring into the camera. She watched Paul and his anticipatory smile, knowing he loved to see what younger folks were getting into. But his smile fell. She'd only seen his face this distraught once before. 2 weeks into her partnership, they responded to a domestic violence call. But they were too late. The subject had shot her husband and lit their children on fire before killing herself. It was the worst thing either officer had ever seen. The children were twisted, and their faces melted, fused, open in permanent, crispy screams. That same look, brows knotted, horror burning into wet eyes, throat pulsing with his heartbeat, washed over Paul as he stared at the video. Maria's face went flat, and she wondered what she'd done wrong. A realization crawled up her spine, pulling a smile with it. She laughed. Loud. You almost had me! She shoved his arm, and when she did, Paul peeled away from her, eyes safe in the squad car, but his awareness wrestling with what he'd just witnessed. Maria's right brow went high, and she asked, Are you being serious right now? I can't tell. Paul threw the phone onto her lap and pointed toward it. What the hell did you just show me? Wait, you saw it? You actually saw it? She wasn't hiding her excitement. Tell me everything. What was it? What did you see? The gruff officer held his throat, trying to peel the invisible fingers from it, attempting to find his breath.
Ocala Unit 513.
Paul jumped at the dispatch's sudden voice.
Respond to a 1056. Male subject, Northwest 80th Avenue. Caller reporting erratic behavior. Possible 5150. Unit respond. Code 2.
Clearing his throat and blinking, Paul sat frozen while Maria registered the numbers in her head. 1056. Another intoxicated pedestrian. 5150. That's erratic behavior. Code 2. Without sirens or lights. She grabbed the radio and called back. 513 copy, 1056 Northwest 80 Avenue, en route. Code 2, 8-minute ETA. Paul started the car. He flipped the lights and sirens on, either not hearing or caring about the Code 2. They drove to their destination in an awkward silence with Maria studying the video silently, trying to find something that could have caused Paul's reaction. The black and white squad car turned onto Northwest 80th Avenue, illuminating driveways, parked cars, and quiet homes. 8 minutes had passed, yet Officer Norman still couldn't peel those invisible fingers from his throat, or shake the chill in his spine. The grip tightened as they neared their destination. His skin, normally bronzed from the Ocala sun, was pale and clammy. Fever, he wondered? Paul rubbed the back of his palm across the curve of his forehead and drew back a slick hand. Omar had seemed angry when he handed the food to the officers, and now Officer Norman's question lingered on the idea of food poisoning. Maria snuck a glance at Paul. She knew something was up, and it wasn't just a stupid video. Whatever was going on, she knew Paul needed to get his head right or hang back. She asked, "Are you good, Paul?" "Who, me?" He feigned a laugh. "Just another call, right?" Maria's lips tightened with concern. "Listen," she said, "there's no shame in hanging back. If you're not feeling—" "I said I'm good, okay?" Paul snapped. He wasn't good, but he wasn't letting Maria go in there alone. "Look, I didn't mean to bark at you. It's just, I don't know, I think that food made me sick. I'm okay, but I might have to call it after this." "A nice night of soaking in a bath? That is all I need." His sense of humor provided a tinge of relief. Maria rolled her eyes and said, "I swear, you should be the woman and me the man, Paul." He laughed and felt dread. The dread whispered that something was wrong. Something was seriously wrong. Before the squad car's tires came to a stop on the gravel driveway, they heard an unnatural sandpaper scream. It was rough like broken asphalt, crackling from someone's throat near the back of the ranch-style home. Stepping off the porch was the old woman who called the emergency line, Mrs. Rita Diaz. Her face wrinkled, ragged, and wet with tears. Her palms held together in prayer, and she mumbled her thanks in Spanish, quickly and on repeat, as she met the officer's car towards the end of the driveway. "Oh, gracias a Dios, gracias a Dios." Maria grabbed the radio, not waiting for her partner, who seemed frozen, studying the starless sky. "Ocala Unit 513, 1023, at location." She unbuckled her seatbelt and opened her door just a crack, stopping when her partner didn't move. "Paul, let's go." At first, he thought it was just smoke curling over the roofline. But the longer he stared, the more it darkened. Too black, too dense. It wasn't rising. It was hanging. A column of darkness, thin as a funnel cloud, fixed above the shingles, like something nailed in place. If the aurora borealis was a gift of beauty and awe, this was its antithesis. An unlight pulling everything into itself, devouring. Paul's pulse jumped. The darkness seemed to throb with him, as though some unseen muscle inside the thing was pumping blood in time with his own. He took a step closer without meaning to, and the beat climbed in his throat. Only then did he notice Maria's voice again, carrying on as if nothing was there. "Paul, let's go." Maria pushed him just slightly and went on. "Dude, get your shit together or get in the car, okay?" "Sure, yeah." Paul cleared his throat and tried to make the statement more reassuring the second time. "Yeah." As Paul stared off into space, Maria spoke with Mrs. Diaz, asking, "Ma'am, do you speak English?" Si, yes." Mrs. Diaz's hands thumbled the beads of worn rosaries. Maria walked toward the door with Rita as quickly as the older woman could manage. "What happened here tonight? Has someone used a drug of some sort?" "Mi nieto. My
grandson, Christopher. He sleep over to help with yard. Never use drugs. Good boy, good boy.
Mrs. Diaz shuffled next to Maria, moving towards the home. Is he hurt? Why is he yelling? Maria asked. Her eyes were on the front door of the home, an aluminum screen door with a cross nailed to it, when the grandmother grabbed her arm tight, stopping her dead in her tracks. Mrs. Diaz's old, arthritic, gnarled finger pointed at the door.
The devil lives in there.
Suddenly, the screaming from within the house stopped. Rita locked eyes with Maria, and there was an intense sincerity.
El diablo. You be careful.
And with that, the old woman let go, no longer willing to take another step toward the door. As Mrs. Diaz and Maria spoke to one another, Paul felt a pile of maggots squirm in his gut, singing to him, 1,000 vibrations telling him to go into the home. He moved past his partner and Mrs. Diaz, feet crunching into the gravel driveway. Paul drew his pistol with his right hand and reached out, pulling the door open with his left. As the barrier between the inside and outside broke, the abrupt, unmistakable stench of decomposing flesh forced its way into his nostrils. He leapt back, the aluminum door slamming, catching Maria's attention. Eyes wide, he looked back at his partner. There's a body. There's got to be a body. Do you smell that? Oh, God. Without hesitation, Maria directed Rita to the car, locking her in the back seat. Gun drawn, Maria moved to her partner. They locked eyes in a moment of trust, and she yanked the door open, expecting a body. There wasn't. No smell either. There was a hint of recently cooked chicken, but no smell of death. Her eyes scanned still, trusting her partner's 15 years of experience. Clean counters and a spotless kitchen was all she saw. With his gag reflex finally under control, Paul pushed through the smell and into the kitchen right behind his partner. The rookie did not flinch at the home's stench, which amazed Paul. He felt foolish. His eyes were red and his stomach twisted while she was cool. They moved through the home as a well-oiled machine. There wasn't much to see, just religious paraphernalia on the walls of the living room, bedroom, and bathroom. The last door was closed, with a cross facing the hallway, facing the officers. Maria moved first, grabbing the brass door handle and pushing it open. Her boots clicked on the polished hardwood. The room smelled faintly of lavender polish and old books. A quilted throw lay wrinkled on the twin bed with its edges frayed. Standing upright on the twin-sized bed with his back facing the wall was a boy she guessed was no older than 14. Baby fat softened his face and curls tumbled over his forehead. His arms stretched out like Jesus, with ropes knotted around his wrists. Nails secured the ends of the ropes to the walls. Tears squeezed from his eyes, and his mouth was agape, gasping for air. A look that reminded her of those poor burnt children from a previous call. Maria felt a pang of pride to be there before something truly terrible could happen.
You must be Christopher, right? I'm Officer Maria, and this is Officer Paul.
She stepped forward just slightly, reaching for the rope. Christopher's eyes, a little red from crying, lifted and bore a hole into her, through her, and at her partner. Paul's gaze, however, pierced the room and the pulsing darkness within it. It was almost black as ink, dripping from ceiling to floor. Through the translucent column, he saw Maria talking to a boy.
No, not just a boy, but something behind him. He couldn't see it all at once, just fragments. A tall, spindly frame, wax-white skin, hair the color of blood spilling in chaotic strands from random parts of the body. Its face was blank and eyeless, but Paul felt it see him. When it did, its mouth opened, teeth jagged, cracking in the darkness. A sudden movement. Hands slithered around the boy, some grotesquely thin, others too bloated and wrong. They pulled at his clothes and pressed against his skin at unnatural angles. Paul's stomach clenched. He tried to call out to Maria, but his voice was mud. Then Christopher's esophagus moved. It bulged and slithered as if a ball was being rolled upward. His mouth sagged open. Fingers, yellow-nailed and serrated, clawed up from the darkness of his throat and walked across his tongue. They stepped over the child's lips and grabbed his jaw, working it to make the boy speak. The boy's voice tore through Paul. "You see it? Tell me you see it!" The words weren't just heard, they vibrated, a sonic thrum against the man's skull. Paul staggered back, grinding the side of his head with the grip of his pistol, trying to separate reality from hallucination. Maria stopped reaching for Christopher's ropes and turned to her partner, who huddled against the door. "What happened over there, Paul?" No response. Maria's voice cut through the screams. "Come on, big guy, you gotta talk to me." She fished a glove from her pocket, pressing it over her face as if shielding herself from something airborne. Her words shifted to Christopher, steady but strained. "What's going on here, kid? What did you bring into this house?" She grabbed the radio on her shoulder and called for backup, but Paul didn't register her actions. He saw her differently now. In the dark pulse around them, she wasn't helping him. She was helping it. That thing holding the boy. "Is this why you showed me that video?" His voice shattered like a stained glass window. "Paul, what the—" A gunshot swallowed Maria's words. The bullet struck something behind Christopher. The thing writhed, a noise like snapping bone. Paul's chest was slick with joy. Pain for them was pleasure for him. He fired again, and again. Happiness swelled with each shot until the chamber clicked empty. The shots blew apart the monster's face, and its hands went limp. There were holes that leaked pale, milky liquid. Maria ducked in horror as in a matter of seconds, Paul's clip emptied into Christopher. The bullet shattered his teeth and emptied it into his torso, shooting the boy's eye out of the socket. Her gun rose towards her partner. "Paul, what the hell did you just do?" Her partner's laugh slithered up from his throat, wet and wild. Another movement of the shadows. Another target. He reloaded without thought, eyes wide, crazed, pupils stretched, fixated on the horror, and raised his gun towards her. Maria's hand rose, gun trembling toward him. "Paul, no!" The darkness cracked open with gunfire. Light spilled sharp and raw, throwing shadows like bodies across the walls. Sound rattled the ribs of the neighborhood. You could not tell who, or what, or where. Only the echo, knowing something terrible moved in the night.